Welcome, everybody, to the New Year's Eve resolution episode of this podcast. Oh man, my entries are so solid. I am so happy that you're here. Happy New Year. Even though I did just have an episode come out on like a few days ago, I'm kind of just gonna say it in my head that this is my first episode of the new year because this is the one that I really am so excited about. You know, everyone gets so pumped up with the new year. The last month of the old year is always so busy and overwhelming, and everyone leaves it just like, I'm ready to be back on a schedule and eat healthier and feel calmer and go outside and less screen time, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't care about any of those resolutions because I have some different ones for you. So if you are a teacher or a parent or an adult who's just looking on how to keep living that inclusive life, I have thought of some New Year's resolutions for you because, if you need some, I'm just like here to help. So before we go into all of the New Year's resolutions that I also try to do these for myself every year. I want to talk about my new membership. So if you go, it's called Coffee, but it's spelled KO-FI, and you can get on this membership, and it is so cheap. I tried to make it so affordable because I want people to be able to access all this information. And so what you get, there are three options. There's a dollar, a $3, and a $5. The $1 is pretty much just like you're on that website and you're a part of the community. If I make posts, if I ever do something for free or not for free, but if I ever like make something and I really don't know what to do with it, I'll probably just put it there for all the subscribers. And then the $3 one, you get like well, not unedited, but like the director's cut version of my podcast episodes. And January is all about like the Department of Education and like what do people in the disabled community feel about it. And there is going to be like, 45-minute podcast available to everybody. But these conversations already went on so much longer. And I think it's really going to be great conversations that will just be really worth it. And then the $5 one, not only do you get everything else that I just said, you will also get this magazine, this monthly magazine. I'm calling it a digital digest. And it will have, I mean, it'll be about like 20 pages of just like fun, inclusive stuff for parents and teachers. And this is something that I just kind of thought about of like, why don't we have fun? Like, I love going through magazines and like really the dream, I guess this could be a New Year's resolution for me. I would love for this to be a magazine that I can have printed and like shipped out to people so they can like, cut out pictures and like put up inspirational things that they like, send like rip out articles for their coworkers or whatever. So I'm really hoping that that takes off. So I just made the first one and it is out now. And it is all about New Year's Eve resolutions. And then there's like tools that you can bring back to your classroom. And even as a parent, I mean, I was a special ed teacher first, and there are so many practices I did as a teacher that I do for my kids that have like been such a game changer. And one of them is social stories, which I know I've talked a lot about before, but I really did a breakdown of like why it's important, how you can make one, why this helps afterwards, all this stuff. And then I have an article from a self advocate. There's always going to be a small business spotlight that is always going to be either led by a person with a disability, a family member who has a disability, someone who's in the disability community. And then there's going to be fun things because it's like a magazine. There's going to be fun pictures and fun quizzes and just all these things that I hope inspire you to like love teaching again and love parenting again and not feel so stressed out because 2020, 2025, we're going to go into it just chill AF, okay? That was such a long intro. Oh my God, I'm recording. Okay, I wasn't recording. I just did this before. Okay. Here we go. Let's talk about New Year's Eve resolutions. Now, I can't remember where I saw this first said to me, but now I do it every year. And it's focusing on four different types of New Year's Eve resolutions. And so the four topics are emotional, physical, spiritual, and mental. So emotional is like something about, your feelings, like or something like improving relationships. Physical would be like taking care of your body if it's through exercise or nutrition or sleep. Spiritual is some like practicing gratitude or like meditation, really focusing on like your sense of purpose, or if we want to quote Wicked, your heart's desire. And then mental goals that focus on improving your mindset, knowledge, your well being, all that stuff. So here, let's go down some goals that are some New Year's resolutions that I just feel like are such easy changes and things that you can like really easily track. If if you are in special education, you probably love tracking data, I'm sure. So this is something super easy to track, which by the way, on the digital digest, I do have a link in the magazine where you get sent to a tracker for yourself, like that you can just fill it out, print it and fill it out. So I really am I'm trying to make resources that I know people will want to use. But I just like can't keep doing it for free. And I'm trying to make it really reasonably priced. Anyways, I digress. Okay, so let's talk about some New Year's Eve resolutions. So for teachers, this is such a big one that I feel like so many, and this is like a huge boundary that I feel like a lot of people have a hard time following. But having a set hour, like hours that you will be at work. And I mean, even as a parent, having a certain part of your day where you are like, you put your phone away and you solely focus on playing with your kid, reading books with your kid. And I actually put a lot of alarms on my phone to tell me when to like, when the timer is up. And that's what I did when I was a teacher. I had a timer on my phone. And don't get me wrong, I did stay late because teachers like don't get paid to stay past it, whatever. It's stupid and I disagree with it. But I would come in um, a little early and I'd leave a little later. And I had to practice leaving things that were unfinished on my desk and being like, I will get to it tomorrow. And it's hard because you just want to be prepared for everything. You want to be, you want to be doing good. You want your students to learn. But they can't learn from a teacher who's like struggling to maintain their own happiness. And so what I would do is I would schedule workout classes. I think they were usually at 4. So I was living in the city, so in San Francisco. So I would be having to leave work by like 3:15, 3:30 to get somewhere by 4. And I would sign up for classes where that if I didn't show up, I'd have to pay a fee. And I do not like paying fees. And I just reread Atomic Habits, and they say this a lot that if you're trying to start a new habit, you have to have some sort of incentive to make you want to do it. And then after a while, your brain gets so used to it that you're like, oh, yeah, it's just something I do. But this was how I forced myself to leave the classroom and not stay late. And don't get me wrong, there are days that you stay late at work. I'm not saying don't ever stay late at work. But if you are staying every day till like 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. as a teacher, like, I mean, I guess it depends on your hours, but for me, like that is ridiculous. That was way too late. We got paid until about 3:30, and it was like, why am I going to waste, an hour and a half to 2 hours being here? Like if they're not paying me enough to do all the work, then all the work's not going to get done. Like that's that. And no one's going to learn if we just keep letting people step all over us. So, what bottom line, have an alarm, have something planned to go do. And it could be anything. It could be like you're going to go meet a friend or, and you can have someone hold you accountable. You can have another coworker at your school site, you guys have to leave together or something. Um, Whatever really gets you out of the door. And I know it's so hard to leave unfinished work. You're like, what, let me just finish this one task. I'll just finish it and then I'll go. It's just 5 more minutes. It's never just 5 more minutes. And plus, this is just a good practice on just leaving it and showing up the next day and then finishing it. If you have 5 minutes, if it's going to take you 5 minutes, you will have 5 minutes to do it tomorrow. Um, Next is lunch. I think it is so important for teachers to know their coworkers. And going into the lunchroom is a great time to do that. My last school did not have a lunchroom, and so I would try to find classrooms that like people would meet up and hang out. Um, and that sometimes worked, sometimes didn't. But trying to form those bonds, and I'm not saying you have to be best friends with your coworkers, but building a trusted relationship so you feel confident working with each other is so important. And for parents, um getting to know your school's community, talking to the PTA or the PTO, having whatever their, public teacher association or organization, the names change. Maybe knowing people on your school board, which is something new for me that I'm doing this year. And I'll keep you posted on that. The next meeting, I think, is next week. Um, and then going through meeting your teachers, meeting the students in the classroom, go to events, going to the social aspect of schools. I mean, of school activities. I think it's just so important, and a lot of people see it as like this burden of like, oh, another thing I have to go to, when like especially when your kids are young, this is kind of like the only time you get to do it. So how about you go enjoy doing it and be a part of your community? Because I have read, I don't know if you guys saw this on Instagram, but I am the top 1% psychology reader or something. I don't know what that really means, that statistic, or maybe it just meant, I don't know. I don't know what it means, but it means that I read a lot of psychology books and I read a lot of nonfiction books because I just love learning about how the brain works. And what so many books talk about is the importance of human connection. There are literally thousands of books that talk about the importance of communication and understanding and community. And so it's like your school is a huge part of your community. Your kids are there all day. Our students are there. Teachers are there. That is time to get to know each other and like each other. Um, so I just feel like it's so important to make time to go get lunch with your coworkers, and then learn about them. And I have so many resources on that. If you're looking for more resources, like reach out to me, I guess, because I can't name them all here. Um, okay, next is having a planner. Now, as a teacher, I actually had multiple planners because I liked having planners for different people. So we had like our visual schedule on the board. So everybody saw that. That was like our hour by hour schedule. And that was like for the staff, for the students, for me. And then on my desk, I had a weekly to-do list. And so what was really nice was like having all these to-do lists and then spread it out, or to-do tasks, and spread it out throughout the week. So I know like when I'm going to get to it, because sometimes it's really stressful. It's more stressful in my opinion to have a 20 tasks to do. Because then you're just like, well, let me just do all these tasks and then I'll keep going, which your to-do list never ends because that's like not the point. There's always going to be something to do. So instead, those really big tasks, just spread them out throughout the week. Don't try to write three IEPs in one day. So this to-do task was, or this weekly list was just so nice for me to have. And then I also had my personal planner. And so my personal planner would have like, if school events were on there, if volunteering, if meetings, like, something that might be outside of working hours, but I'm still going to go to, or something like if an IEP meeting is going to go after school, making sure that I'm not going to be conflicting with a workout class that I'm doing. And at this point, I really was very like week by week scheduled. I mean, things would be scheduled out probably. I mean, IEP meetings are scheduled out like at the beginning of the year, but like I was very focused on like the week ahead. And even though I would plan things further out, it was like Fridays were always my day that I would like prepare for the next week. That was like my big task before leaving Friday. Um, and yeah, and planner. So I love, and I actually have this planner right now this is my first year using it. Oh, what is it called? I messed this up last time too. Laurel Denise. I should know how to say her name. Laurel Denise planner. And it is so great because what it does, and she has a mini one too, which I really want to try the mini one because the big one is really big, but it's like as big as my computer. So it's like, I don't know, I'm usually traveling with both, but the big one has more room to write in, and I really like writing all my to-do tasks down. So like if I have like a podcast episode I want out, I will say like record podcast, edit podcast, prepare a schedule podcast, prepare post for podcast. So all of those tasks feel so good when I get to complete one off my list. Because if I just said finish podcast, that is so much work that goes into only one check mark for completing my task. Um, Anyways, I also just got signed up through their affiliate program. And this is like a planner I bought on my own. And so I am going to post the link. It's like an affiliate link below. I get like 10%, which is, it's not paying any bills or anything, but um I seriously I love this planner so much and I could not hype it up anymore. Oh wait, I can't remember if I said why I like it. So it shows like a month, like it shows you the whole month. When you open it, it shows you the entire month, and then at the bottom it has a weekly pages. And so you can flip the weekly pages, but the month page stays the same. And I love that because I put my weekly, like my to-do list still on the weekly part, and then I can see all of our schedule for the month. So any like classes my kids have, or, babysitting I'm doing, or play dates, like all of that is shown in the month. And so when I'm then making my to-do list, I could be like, well, if we're having this play date here, I'm not going to have time to do this. So I'm going to put that on Wednesday. And so it's just like, it's a really nice visual for me to have when making my schedule, especially now that I have so many schedules to follow. When it was just me, it was so different. But now it's, my partners, my kids, now we have a dog, whole thing. Okay. Next goal is learning to celebrate how amazing you are. And this is like, something that is, it feels so simple, but people have a really hard time celebrating how good they are. I actually just read a post that my friend did, and she was like, how does anybody get anything done with a baby? We woke up, I fed her, I changed her, got her dressed. I got dressed. I showered. We went downstairs, had to feed her again. And now it's 11:30 and I still haven't gotten anything done. And my response to her was like, it sounds like you got a lot of stuff done this morning. It sounds like you fed your baby. It sounds like you both ate. It sounds like you showered. It sounds like you got ready. Like, those are all wins, especially as a new parent with a small baby. Like, you have to remember to celebrate all of the little things that also happened. A book that I don't really like, but I also like, is Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day, because it is a kid that throughout his day, he's saying about why everything is such a bad, horrible day. But if you think about the mindset of, like, some of his problems were like he was in the middle seat and didn't want to be in the middle seat. But we could talk about how, sometimes we have to take turns being in the middle seat because all the other seats are taken. Maybe tomorrow he won't be in the middle seat. He talks about how his teacher doesn't like his drawing of an imaginary castle or an invisible castle, and he's mad about that. But instead, it's like, okay, well, is there a reason you didn't draw a picture? Could you have drawn what the invisible castle looks like? How can we like further these conversations and change that mindset? So, he was in a really negative headspace all day. And don't get me wrong, we are sometimes. But how can we focus on when we start, or how can we realize that we're in this negative mindset? And then how can we get out of it? So I actually do this now when I feel like I'm having a bad day, and I'll come back to my partner and I'm like, this person cut me off and the kids were just screaming, I'll start complaining, and then I have to, I mean, this is a rule that I made for myself that me and my partner both do. Um, but then we have to say like good things that happen throughout the day. And so maybe I'll say like, I got to wash my hair today. That was cool. And like the kids sat down while we read a book and we got to cuddle. So that was nice. And even though it's like so hard sometimes to find those little areas that did bring me some joy, if I don't focus on those items, then I just get so negative, and I don't want to be negative and sad. I prefer to be happy. And I'm not saying this is like the cure for depression or anything. If you are battling depression, you should definitely go seek medical help, like go get medical support. But if you feel like you just struggle sometimes with a negative mindset, that is something. And again, having someone to hold you accountable. If someone says, okay, that sounds like you had a pretty rough day. Like, what are three things that were really good that happened today? And that's something we have to do, especially with our physical looks. As if my partner and I ever say like, "Oh, I don't like that picture of me," then I'll say, "Well, I like the shirt that I picked out, and my nose actually looks really cute in it, and I love that I'm in it with my family." So it makes me rethink all the positive things also in that picture. Woo! Celebrate those wins, girl. or boy, man, woman. Okay, person, they, them. Inclusive. Okay. Um, so yes, so other small changes that I feel like could be made, especially if we want to be more inclusive this year, which I do think all those tips I just gave you do help. I think setting healthy boundaries, I think being more positive, using language you want kids to use, being more social and making genuine peer relationships with your coworkers. I think all of those also help build a more like inclusive community. Um, but small changes that you can make right now is like going to the library and getting books with disability representation or people of color or just really any character that looks different than you and your family. Um, because I just feel like that really gets kids to see the different kinds of people in our community, which I think is just so important to focus on like raising inclusive kids. And and then having like reflection questions ready. So a lot of times, the big conversation we're having right now is that my kids will look at those pictures where it says like no animals inside of restaurants except for service animals. And so they'll be like, why can't dog, especially because we just got a dog. So this has been a huge, huge conversation. But they'll be like, why can't the dog come in? And I'm like, oh, well, it's just a rule that sometimes animals can't come in. But do you see that service animals are allowed in? Do you remember what a service animal is? And then we'll talk about service animals and we'll talk about, how they're helpful to people. And I'm actually going to do a whole episode on service animals because I feel like I had a conversation with someone recently and it went so well and it was all about animals and it really like changed my own perspective on like people owning pets. So much so that we like literally bought a dog. I have told so many people, I'm like, we're not getting a dog until we have kids that can walk the dog. Our kids cannot walk this dog, but we got a dog. So that is how much, I don't know. I don't know if this is like a highlight for the future. Okay, well, I'm super bummed that I don't have my cat tarot card reading here with me right now. I could go get it. I just don't really want to edit a whole episode. I know. I know. Thanks for being here. What I will do though is I will talk about my cat tarot card reading for New Year's Eve, which was a few days ago or this last week. So I'm gonna go onto my phone because I took a picture of it and one of the biggest things that it said was, oh gosh, what was this for? I think it's for the my future. So it was standing up for yourself and challenge. So hold strong in the face of adversity. Your wand is bigger than the six pointed at you. Don't give up. You need to fight to maintain your position. Don't let the others bring you down or try to take away what you have worked so hard for. There may be setbacks in the process, but always stand up for what you truly believe in. I thought this was like right after I was getting ready to put, or right before I was going to post about the digital magazine. And I was just like, man, like, and I did a bigger reading. And again, it was just like, people might not get it, but if this is what means something to you, then keep fighting for it. And honestly, I feel like this last year has been a lot of just like, trying new things and trying to get people wanting to do stuff and get them involved with raising inclusive kids. And it's been hard. It's been discouraging. I mean, it's cool when a video goes viral because sometimes I do get to have like good conversations and educate people, and then they also educate me. But a lot of times it's a lot of bullies, and it is really hard to keep going, even though part of it's inspiration or it's a little bit inspiring to me because there are so many people who just don't know. Um, so I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. This is literally just my whole life. This is what we do in our family. This is how I raise my children. This is how I go out into the community. So I hope that you have a great new year and thank you so much for being here. I mean, really, you listening to this means so much to me. You will never know. Um, so I really appreciate you all being here, and I'm excited for 2025 and see where the podcast goes, see where the membership goes, because it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So have a great Monday, and I will talk to you all later. Inclusion starts with you, and I just want to help.